That's my mom's. Isn't it a nice little small
It's a
one?
little girl's hammer.
It's a
I have
little
got
girl's-
a little girl's hammer.
Do you?
They're so useful.
They are cute.
Yeah, manageable.
Sitting
Okay.
here with Belinda Wilson and Kelley Diener, the master and the muse. Take one. So Belinda, tell me a little bit about your art background.
My art background. Well, I had the luxury of having an artist for a father who was very supportive. And so when I showed some promise, he'd give me some exercises when I was young, and then I do them, and I got interested in it, and he supported me with the idea of going to art school, which I think a lot of artists don't get.
Art school meaning after high school?
After high school, yeah, university art school. So I did that for 4 years.
And were you raised in Auckland? Or
No, I was actually born in Calcutta and raised in Timaru.
in Timaru,
Yeah, which is a little town.
I know it is by Oamaru. Yes.
Yes.
So where did you go from uni, after uni?
After uni, I had my first one-man show in Christchurch, and that was an experience. And then I went travelling, and really, I spent 10 months in America, and I painted portraits in New York, and worked in a loft in New York. Worked for a cowboy in Wyoming, not painting, cooking. So I did draw his portrait.
Did you?
Yeah. So that was America. I travelled right across America. I lived in London for 4 years and had a studio there, and I had a studio in Brussels. So, and then I went to meet my husband and went to Australia. I went and lived in Australia, and I really started my painting career in Australia because there was a lot of commission work on. Fabulous. You know, you get.
It was a boom at that time, so
real
people
boom.
had money and
Lots of money.
art appreciators.
Yes, that's right.
That's not a word, is it?
New terminology. We're allowed.
I want to laugh. Well, my background is in education. I started, I guess my undergrad is in psychology. I have a BA in psychology and a fifth year teaching credential, and then a master's in curriculum design, which was my art. I had an aptitude for thinking that way. Thinking the way of the computer, and I started in Macs, and it really was artistic because the web was just starting, and I just saw ways of integrating what they were doing in the classroom with the internet. So that was my background. I didn't really start into art till later when we were sailing, and I ran out of things to do, and I remember
Ran out of books.
Yes, ran out of books. Anyways, I just got bored. And I picked up those watercolor pencils and started sketching the landscapes of these islands that we were in, and
You got hooked.
I was hooked. It just hooked me.
There's a great big kingfisher sitting on the wire up there. Baby bear. Oh, yeah, when they can.
Yes, it is.
Gathering reference for paintings is interesting. I mean, where does that germ of an idea for a painting come from? What's the origin of a painting? And it's very ethereal. It's not tangible, and it varies hugely. You know, what's the germ of an idea, and you grab it. And I did a painting called Conversations from London. My daughter was in London, aged 18. She decided that she would go for a year. So she said to me subsequently, when I asked her why she went, she said, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time, and off she went. And I used to have conversations with her with Skype. And in those days, and they've changed it now, which is unfortunate, you could stop and take a photograph on Skype. And so I had all these series of photographs of each conversation with Lucy in London. And she was used to it because I painted her a lot over the course of the years. She was my model. And so I took the series of paintings, and each day, well, not each day, but whenever I had the conversations, the mood was different. You know, something, she was growing up, she was living life in a big city. And so I decided that I wanted to do a painting of this, and I approached it through multiples. So I would do individual little portraits of her in these different moods, and then hung them as a multiple so they worked as a whole. And there was, you know, she was doing it with a laptop, so her situation was different each time, so she would have different motifs, different objects in the background, which all became integrated into the composition. So it was an interesting thing to do. And it was 8 panels, I think, quite a big work. So that was one way.
I love birds. I've studied the New Zealand birds far more than I've studied the North American birds. And there's a bird here called a fantail. I am fascinated with their movement, their acrobatics, their twisting and turning. And I thought, how can I really authentically represent those fantails in motion? I noticed that one day the fantails were jumping off and doing their little acrobatic motion off of the tomato stands in my next door neighbor's garden. So I set up my video camera and I filmed them jumping off and going on their little route, and sometimes coming right back down to the same post that they were on, sometimes going off. And I collected those and then slowed them way down so that I could see their trail. So I called that fantail trails. It was one of my favorite paintings because I knew that it was anchored in reality, even though the painting itself was probably not so looking like it was, because of the little trails that I imagined that they'd left behind.
I went and bought.
Fix this one hunk that looks, it was so good before. You had just one.
What do I do? We really need a mirror, because I can have a bad hair day just like that.
Yes, yes.